Thank you for watching the Shakaama live show with your host, Shakaama. I have often repeated that the black divorce rate is the second lowest, right under Asian divorce rate. And of course, everybody listening to me is, you have no idea what you're talking about. Well, it occurred to me, why don't I look at the overall divorce rate? And the quote-unquote overall divorce rate you hear all the time. 50% of marriages end in divorce. 50% of marriages end in divorce. I thought that was really high because I know a lot of married people and they have never gotten divorced. And when I say I know a lot of married people, I mean I know tons of married people. Tons. And they don't have problems. They don't have drama. Of course, I come from a higher class than the average American. But still, I know tons of married people. And they have not been divorced. And their biggest deal is who's going to wash the dishes. That's their big problem. Who's going to take out the trash? That's their big problem. There you go. That's their big problem. So I want you to first of all get rid of all this notion about money problems. So that's not an issue in my world. I keep saying things and people are think that their world applies to my world. I don't swim in the same cesspool that certain people swim in. They leave comments, all sorts of nasty, horrible comments. That's you. That's the pit that you swim in. That's the stream that you swim in. I don't swim in that pit. They don't have to worry about where their next meal is coming from. And that makes a big difference. And that is a part of what I'm going to discuss today. That 50% divorce rate is a complete and utter lie. How did they reach the 50% divorce rate? Now, I'm going to assume all of you listening to me are not or have not been to master's degree statistics classes. So I'm going to talk to you as if you were idiots in stats, just in stats, not idiots in general. I'm going to try and apply it. So there is something that we apply to stats, and that is it scientifically significant? A lot of stuff that they do on black people is not scientifically significant. Almost every single piece of data that they say black people, it's not scientifically significant. So I want you to put that into your head first of all. So if they say, a majority of black people, this percentage of black, it's not statistically significant. It's not scientifically significant. Where did they get the 50% of marriages end in divorce? They said in a year, 20,000 people get married, 10,000 people get divorced, 50%. Now, I want you to put on your logic cap for a second. Let's assume that you have not been to college. Let's say you have a 6th grade education. When you say 50% in your mind, how would you reach 50%? In your mind, you would take all of the people who are married, right? Versus all of the people divorced. And if that is half of the people who are married, there's your 50%. That is not what they did. You see how stupid this data is, or this saying that 50% of marriages end in divorce? They took 1 year and they said, in this year, 40,000 people got married, 20,000 ended in divorce. Now here's something that's going to blow your socks off, and to solidify how dumb we all were, including myself, in believing this stupid lie. People who have been divorced and remarried 3 times have a 73% chance to divorce. Hold on to your socks. People who have been divorced and remarried 2 times have a 63% 3% chance to end in divorce. Now, does that mean we don't count them? No, we do count them. But is it a possibility in a year that the people getting divorced are actually the same exact people who were remarried? So you have a bunch of 20 to 25-year-olds getting married, and here comes some 40-year-old getting divorced for the fourth time. Is that a 50% divorce rate? No, that's not a 50% divorce rate. Not even close. Now, can they take a sample of that is scientifically correct or scientifically significant of divorce rates? Yes, what they can do is, and this is going to blow your mind, they can take 10,000 married couples, 20,000 married couples would be even better, track them, and see if they get divorced. Married couples. Now, I want to show you the data that they did, how they really did it. They took 1,000 people, humans. Okay, when you say human and you're not a liberal, what do you mean? And you're going to see why I say you're not a liberal. That means that you include children, single people, old people, and married people. 1,000 humans. I know liberals have a problem saying what's a human. Why am I saying that? Because they have put forth the idea that a baby born in a hospital still is not human until such time as the baby leaves the hospital. They have introduced policy that says that you can still kill a baby who has been born. I'm not talking about the unsuccessful abortion. I'm talking about an actual baby that has been born. To a liberal, that is not considered a human until such time as it leaves the premises of the hospital. I am not kidding around. I'm not joking. That is just how far-fetched these people are. So we're going to go with the conservative viewpoint that a breathing human outside of the womb is a human, right? So their 1,000 people includes the newborn infant. Now, what do you think the impact would be if you had a sudden spurt of a whole bunch of newborns on the data talking about divorce and marriage? You see, they look at it, they're looking at both things, right? Marriage and divorce. That's how they come up with the divorce rate. If you had a sudden spurt of newborns, hold on to your hats. That means the marriage rate would go down, but the divorce rate would remain consistent because it's going to be the same number, and they're going to say that the divorce rate is something more than it actually is. Why? Because you're looking at stuff that doesn't even matter. Newborns, single people, the 50% doesn't apply whatsoever. Robert McNamara, one of the leading architects of the catastrophic Vietnam War, believed in data, statistics, and numbers. Quote, "If it can be quantified," said McNamara, "it can be understood." McNamara, statistics representation convinced him that America was winning a war it plainly was losing. So it is with numbers. They are not much use if they cannot be transmuted into knowledge, understanding, and yes, even wisdom. So they were juxtaposing the Vietnam War versus the marriage rate, right? So just so you didn't get confused by that paragraph. Professor Stanley at the University of Denver suggested that people consider the following statements. 1. About 31% of persons' friends aged 35 to 54 who are married, engaged, or cohabitating have already previously been married. Did you understand what I just said? Let me go over that again. About 31% of a person's friends aged 35 to 54 who are married, engaged, or cohabitating have already previously been married. What did I say before? They have a higher chance of divorce, right? Number 2, people who have been married many years, say 35 plus, and have never been divorced have almost no chance of the marriage ending in divorce. See, this is data that you can use with some actual knowledge, right? That you can actually apply to reality. Of course, somebody who's been married for 35 years, this means kids are long gone. There's no children in the house. Now you're dealing with grandkids, and depending on who you are, you might be dealing with great-grandkids. The rate of divorce per year per 1,000 people has been declining since 1980. Number 4, a young couple marrying for the first time today have a lifetime divorce risk of 40% unless current trends change significantly. Let me splice that number 4 up. They found that, and I keep saying middle class, middle class, middle class, upper class, middle class, upper class. The bulk of the middle class and the bulk of the upper class are made up of highly educated individuals. That's college degrees, master's degrees, and PhDs. In the Black community alone, this is why I made the video about entrepreneurs. Most of the wealthier middle class and upper class Blacks have college degrees and advanced degrees. That's a legal degree, doctor, so lawyer, doctor, lawyer, Indian chief, right? Master's, PhD. Most in the Black community. I don't know the data for the white community for that particular statistic, but because I pay attention to Black data only. They found that middle and upper class people in general in the United States have 1/2 of the divorce rate of people of the lower class. Okay, that means income levels, age, and education. By reality, by time constraints, a person who is more educated is going to marry at a later stage in life than a person who is uneducated. Period. Oh, I know you can get married in high school, but people who are pursuing education do not get married in high school. They wait until they have a college degree, and they have found that those people divorce at 1/2 the rate, just off the top of the chart. So also because they are more highly educated, they also have higher income. Higher income, higher education, low divorce rate. And of course, we then throw in age. So higher income, higher education, higher age, low divorce rate, period. I think the people, the men going their own way, are listening to propaganda from their enemy, which are the feminists. And the feminists, of course, are trying to say, look at this stuff, look at it. When in fact, I actually went on Jezebel and read an article actually promoting marriage. I don't know who the person was. Seems kind of strange, don't you think, if you're familiar with Jezebel? But there is no 50% divorce rate, period. And the way that they look at divorce and marriage with per 1,000 people, that means almost nothing. Per 1,000 people. That means everybody listening to me right now, that includes all of you moms who have your 16-year-old boys listening to me. That includes him. He's not married. He's not divorced. And he's included. That makes no sense, does it? So literally, the 50% divorce rate was announced, promoted by the mainstream media, and it has been promoted and repeated and repeated and repeated by the mainstream media. Of course, they have an agenda. Of course, they're trying to destroy the family. I said in my video about women recently, talking about the Idiocracy movie, that they wanted to get women out of the home. They didn't want them to get pregnant. That's why they have the contraception. And they did everything that they can. And so the ultimate goal was to destroy the family. So they want to promote this 50% divorce rate. It's a lie. It's a complete and utter lie. I hope by now you can see that with everything that I've said. Please review the video. I have named some names. You know, when I first started out, this is what really pisses me off. When I first started out, I'd made these videos as if I were giving a dissertation. I was in a PhD program and a master's program, and I would make these videos almost like dissertation. I have bibliography. I included bibliography in the video, and nobody watched. So if you come to my channel and say, you need to back up, no, you need to, since you're on a computer, go to Google and look everything up to your heart's content. I will not do that. If you don't believe it, that means that you need to go find data that supports you. Oh, and you'll probably find data that supports you, because when I typed in divorce rate 50%, I got pages, thousands of pages on Google. But when I typed in real stats divorce rate, I got all of the articles by the PhDs and what have you talking about the divorce rate is not 50%, and the 50% was never real. Why? Because in a year's time, the same people who get married are not the same exact people who get divorced. So it could be that when they did their little statistics and little data and was doing their observation about divorce and marriage, it could be that they had the lowest amount of people in that year get married and the highest amount of people get divorced, saving up so that they could divorce in 1990. Do you understand what I just said? So let's say 1990 just wasn't a good year to get married, but 1990 was a fantastic year to get divorced. So you're going to have some horribly skewed data, and then you're going to try to apply that. Oh, one more thing. The federal government used to require divorce data to be taken. In 1996, that was stopped. We're in what, 2015? Now, why do you think that in 1996 that the federal government stopped require them to report divorce data? What did I just say happened in 1980? In 1980, the divorce rate declined. So from 1980 to 1996, they saw a trend of divorce declining. By 1996, they had enough of it. They didn't want to collect the data. So people did not collect the data. But they still keep repeating that 50% of marriages end in divorce. It's a lie, ladies and gentlemen. And the real truth is, with more education, with more money, your chances of getting divorced, and they did collect per 1,000 marriages. Per 1,000 marriages, you ready for this? Among the highly educated, good income earners, it's 2.1 per 1,000 marriages. Among the uneducated, per 1,000 marriages, it's 4.2. Almost directly 50%, right? So there's no possible way that we're talking about a 50% divorce rate. Not even close. Even with the data, black marriages, they came up with a 30% divorce rate. I'm sorry, 33% divorce rate for blacks, 30% for Asians, and saying 50%, 45% for white people. And I think it was worse for Spanish and other people. So even with that data being corrected, the black divorce rate is far lower. And I have said in a lot of my pro-black videos, when black people get married, they turn into new creatures because now you have two incomes. Black women have always worked. Always. There hasn't been a time where black women stayed at home and were kept women. Unless you get up into the higher income levels. But you didn't have that as a norm in the black community. Higher income levels in the black community was not the norm. The norm was mid to lower income in black households. So black women, as a norm, always worked. Always. When black people got married, then the two together literally explode. You have their income levels go, not just the income from both paychecks, but the motivation of being married also motivates them to get, both of them, to get better incomes. Lower divorce rate from black marriages. Boom, there you have it. It is a self-fulfilling prophecy. But anytime the news wants to tell it, anytime a TV show wants to tell it, anytime it's single black woman, which is another statistic that is a complete lie. Thank you for watching the Shakaama Live Show.